Yeah, so what do you think? What's a good advice that we should get? Like someone who's considering to work with their spouse or start a business, what are some things that you would, from a woman's perspective, and then I'll say from the guy's perspective, what do you think would be some good tips?
I think patience is really important.
Mm,
Um, Patience is always something that's hard in any
yeah.
area of life, but I do think that owning a business
Mm,
is a lot of mental load. And I think that if you can respect and have patience on the days where the mental load is so much, um, you can accomplish anything.
how's it going?
It's good. How are you?
Good. Happy Black Friday.
This is what we do.
Yeah, it's Black Friday today. We are literally heading to go see a patient. We just,
Welcome,
well,
welcome to CareRides with Charles and Emilynn.
yay. Chemelin. Chemelin.
One of our friends in college, before we got married, decided that we were Chemelin.
Chemelin. Sounds like a disease.
That does sound like a disease.
Yeah, it
Which
does.
is also ironic because one of our first dates was
Well, contagion. Which
Contagion.
I don't recommend that for a first date. I don't know what I was thinking.
I mean, I think we were both in healthcare, so we both
Yeah.
was interesting.
Man, that was a terrible, like a terrible first date. Contagion. Everybody died.
It was pretty terrible.
Yeah, everybody died.
That's
Everybody died
funny.
in that movie. So no, yeah, we were talking about Tina and our social media team and JT and everybody. We were talking about, we should do a CareRides together and just kind of like talk about what we do behind the scenes. Or our days are pretty crazy, but also what does it mean to like work together as a married couple? We got two boys, 5 and 7. Um, so it's, I oversee a home health and hospice. Emilynn's the lead nurse there for both companies, and now she's in a role where she's being transitioned into the field, and it's just kind of crazy. But we love what we do. I mean, I feel like when we first met in college, that was the thing that we bonded over was old people.
Yeah, we've worked together our entire married life, pretty much, actually.
Yeah.
So after we got married, Charles helped me get my job at the hospital because he already worked there.
Shout out to St. Luke's Hospital
St. Luke's,
in Chesterfield,
Chesterfield,
Missouri.
Missouri.
The 314.
And so we worked there together, and that was funny, actually, because Charles was the PT during the day, and then I was the nurse at night. And
Yeah.
lots of people did not think that I was his wife,
Yeah.
obviously. That was
Yeah.
funny.
So I would have there would be joint replacements that would be done during the day. And, I do therapy, take them, they have surgery, do therapy while they're in the hospital. And I'd be like, hey, like, look out for my wife. She's going to be there. She'll be your night nurse. And they're like, oh man, looking forward to meeting your wife and everything. And then the night came, and then Emilynn would take care of them. And then the next morning I'd come and see them like, hey, did you enjoy, my wife? She was a nurse, Emilynn. They were like, oh, Emilynn was your wife? And they were like, I was like, yeah, that's who I said it was. She's like, I had no idea. I was like, yeah, we just look different.
Look a little different.
So it was fun. Like, I think we had a lot of,
Well, St. Louis is a pretty interesting city when it comes to
yeah,
that stuff. So.
there's a lot of great people. There's a lot of good people. There's a lot of there's some segregation, history of that. But St. Louis is a great place. So that's where we met. So yeah, I mean, we went from studying together. We would have classes at SLU, IPE.
Interprofessional education.
Yeah, we would take classes together. We would study together. Yeah, I mean, we did, when I was in gross anatomy, she'd do pharm, and we'd study in shout out to the Lewis Annex at St. Louis. I don't even know if it's still there, but
It's still there.
It's
It's
probably still
just
there.
probably looks nicer
It
now.
looks a lot nicer, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's all we knew. And I think, when you have that time together, working together is the same. But I think what we've done over the years is that, I've learned it kind of all starts with the husband, to be honest. That's just my opinion. But it's like, we have to lead well and we have to love well. And so like always try not to, my tone, right? If I'm frustrated, I try not to, like, it's all about like how you say things.
I think there's a good balance, right? So
Yeah.
like the days that are hard, I can relate to you better than anybody because I understand what is hard about it. But I think there's a lot of respect between the two of us, right? Like I respect you for all the hard work you do, and I understand it to a level of like, if you come home and you've got 20%, it's my job to make up that other 80%, right? Like if you don't have the energy for the boys or you don't have the energy for me, I have a really deep understanding of why, right?
Yeah.
And same goes for me, right? Like, you know exactly how many patients I've seen that day, how far I've driven, the amount of charting and the capacity that takes for my brain to chart all of that stuff when I come home.
Yeah.
That I think there's that respect of like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here and chill, watch the basketball game while you do your charting, right?
Yeah.
Like there's that mutual respect where we really understand the load that one another carries.
Yeah.
That I think that's why we can respect each other in that area.
Yeah. That's huge. I think like that's a really good point.
But
Because
also
I think,
like we couldn't do this without our village, right? Like your mom helps so much with our children. Super grateful that they are both of school age right now, so that we know, they're at school safe between the hours of 7:40 and 3 p.m. And then obviously we have a village of babysitters and family and whatever else that kind of help us in the after hours, because the reality is we do work from sun up to sundown a lot of days. And we couldn't do that without our village for sure. And our boys I think they have a respect as well too for the work that mommy and daddy do, right? So
we're treating, like, I think that's the one thing we try to tell them is like we're treating and serving people when they're sick. And so it's not just like, it's a vocation, it's a calling, it's a ministry, it's work, it's hard work, and we do it not because of, people say, you don't do things because of the pay. I mean, you really don't, but you have to get paid, right? You have to work. But at the same time, the amount of work sometimes doesn't correlate, right, with the pay. And so we help them understand that, like, daddy has to work, mommy has to work, so you can have food to eat. Or, if you want to work, let's do the dishes and just do some chores, and I'll pay you $2 at the end of the week, so you can learn, how money works,
Or even on Saturdays, right? Like when I have to work on a Saturday, or you have to work on a Saturday and put in those extra hours, right? Like, one or the other of us is usually there to pick up the pieces and, help the boys have a great time on the weekend too, right? Like it's teamwork for sure. And I think you and I work really well as a team.
Yeah, I want to go back to, so you said something about the respect factor. I think what I've noticed is that when husbands and wives, when they work two different jobs, or or even the wife is a stay-at-home or the dad's a stay-at-home and the other one's working, I think the respect factor is huge, right? Because if you truly understand, at least to some extent, what the other person is doing, there's a respect, right? There's no like resentment, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm working hard, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm working so much harder, you don't understand what I do, or a stay-at-home dad, right? There has to be that respect factor and understanding that work is work. And like there is no better than or less than. We're on the same team, right? We're trying to accomplish the same goals. And I think if husbands and wives can do that, then that's like the foundation, which is respect, right? Then you can build on that. But if you don't have that foundation of respect, it's very hard to build, on that.
I was watching, I saw an Instagram video yesterday, actually.
Did you get influenced?
No, I did not. That was this dad who did this like just little like 2-minute thing or whatever. And he was saying that he's like, I'm a single parent right now for our 4 kids because my wife had to go to the Philippines for, whatever, however many weeks or whatever. And he's like, I was prepared for the cooking and the cleaning and, the putting to bed and the getting off to school and things. He was like, but he was not prepared for the mental load, right? So I think as moms, I myself am constantly thinking, I've got the laundry, I've got to get it folded, I've got to cook for my family for the entire week. Just all those things of like, what's the plan like outside of work and outside of school this week? Like, do we have soccer practice? Do we have gymnastics? Do we have whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like all of those things run through my head. And it's not that like it's the wife's job to do that or it's the mom's job to do that.
Right.
It's just like, it's all those things put together on top of me working, right? Like, so there's a huge respect factor there of like, it's not just me doing it, because a lot of times I am like, I've got 8 big charts to finish and I need you to fold the laundry. Like I did it, but I need you to fold it and put it away because I can't do it all. And I think we work really well as a team together. Or even you are like not above cooking dinner, right? Like you're not incapable of doing that. So I think, it's like
team.
We have to work as a team, right?
Yeah, it is. So. It's a team, like, and I think also like it's one of the things I've been blessed. I think God has brought a lot of great men around me that have like taught me how to lead well. And because of that, I was able to instill those things, like just being intentional with things. Like for us, like we always go once a month with like, wire ourselves, like this is our weekend where we're chilling, or the boys are, either with my parents or a babysitter. We do that once a month, right? And we try to reconnect, talk about things. We're intentional with trying to meet once a week, talking about finances as much as we can. Sometimes it's not consistent, but at least we're intentional about that. Intentional about making sure, like we did this a while back ago, but all of our stuff is like on a Google Calendar. So we share that Google Calendar with work calendars and like family. So it's a family one and then there's a business one. So we can kind of look and see like what's on the calendar for the coming up week, and coordinate that and just being intentional. So it's just, there's a lot of intentionality that has to be, if you want to do something great, if you want to have a great marriage, if you want to do great things, everything is about being intentional.
It's about balance too, though, because like there's times where like on those weekends where we do kind of unplug and like focus on ourselves, right? Like we also try and limit as much of talking about work, right? Because our life consists of things outside of work too. So I think, we can't just have our relationship completely centered around our jobs, because the reality is we have children together and we have so many other joys and so many other aspirations and dreams, things that we want to do or travel or whatever, like building a home or whatever, right? Like all those things are other interests that we have outside of work. Yes, we like old people, but there's more to life than that. 100%. So we talk about those things and focus on those things the nights that we're like, okay, we're going to unplug. We're not talking about work. And we do that a lot of times. We're like, okay, I've had a day. Don't talk about work.
Yeah, it was actually 2 nights ago. It was like we came home. It was the night before Thanksgiving.
Your head hurts
and I
so
was like,
bad.
My head hurts so bad. Like I don't want to hear about another thing with work. Like I'm hurting. And she was like, okay. I was like, please, don't. Please. Like I just can't.
So I went and sat and charted in another room.
I was like, I can't.
So
like
that
it
as
hurts so
things
bad.
came to my mind, I wasn't talking about it with him.
Yeah, it's just, and it's just that relationship, like the understanding, like you said, is just how do we understand each other? How do we work together? How do we do that in a healthy way? So I think that's the biggest thing. What do you think are some tips that we should like give people who are considering like starting a business with their spouse? Like, what do you think? Or some things that like, if they're just, it's one of our nurses. Hold on one second. Hey, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe. The YouTube algorithm told us, what they tell us? It told us it was like 99% of our people watching these videos are not subscribed. So that means you need to subscribe, and hope you continue to enjoy our content. All right, bye. Oh, yeah. So that was one of our nurses. We're just chatting for a little bit. So what do you think? What's a good advice that we should get? Like, someone who's considering to work with their spouse or start a business, what are some things that you would, from a woman's perspective, and then I'll say from the guy's perspective, what do you think would be some good tips?
I think patience is really important. Patience is always something that's hard in any area of life, but I do think that owning a business is a lot of mental load, and I think that if you can respect and have patience on the days where the mental load is so much, you can accomplish anything.
Yeah.
I think that there are days when you come home and you just have nothing left, and that's okay. I know we've always like gone to bed together, right? Like we've always like gone to bed at the same time, like throughout our marriage. But I would say in the last couple of years, like we've just had moments where like you come home and you crash.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've still got time left in me, or I've still got energy left, right? That I'm not ready to go to bed yet. And I think that just having that like patience of like, you know what? It's okay. Like, I'm here.
Yeah.
If you need me, if you don't need me and you just want to go to bed and shut off, that's fine. Like, obviously it can't be that all the time, but there's times when you just come home and you have nothing left. And I think there's a lot of facets that you deal with. There's always something coming at you all day long.
Yeah.
Being in the office, I understand what that feels like. That's a different type of endurance than what I have like while I'm out in the field now. And even being out in the field has its different demands and endurance, right? That requires of you. And so I think, those being understanding of those different demands and loads that we carry, I think is really important.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Patience and being understanding. Yeah. I would say the same thing. I think also, I think it's the same word. I think having grace with each other is huge. I think, if you're starting a business, you have a vision of what it's going to look like, and it's not going to look like what you envision it.
Right.
It's going to change. It's going to tweak itself, and then you're going to probably get disappointed. And then when you get disappointed, you don't want to lash out that disappointment on your spouse because you guys are on the same team, right? Like,
right.
So it's like it's understanding that it's gonna be it's a journey. And a lot of times when you're owning a business and running a business, it's not the same as if you're just working in a business. Because when you're working in a business for an organization, you're not responsible for all of the deep things in terms of like cash flow analysis, tax liabilities, like payroll, right? Like you're not the Texas workforce or whatever the state, right? Like you're not. Now we're just talking about owning a business, and you have different regulations like owning a home health and owning a hospice business or owning a home care business, right? Like there's those deep things, and then you have the normal runnings of staffing, or if you're actually starting it, then you'll be the one that's actually seeing the patient, right? So there's like a lot of deep things, and so just know that it's not going to be easy, and nothing in life is easy. It's not
pretty sometimes.
It's not pretty. And it's not. It
is also a sacrifice. A lot of times. There's a huge sacrifice. And it's not just us sacrificing. Your mom sacrificed for years. Like while you were growing up and while she was starting the business. Like she sacrificed so much.
And that's a great point because people don't talk about sacrifice.
No.
Sacrifice is not pretty. It's not trending.
No. It's not on Instagram like, I want to sacrifice.
I want to sacrifice. I don't want to go on vacation for a whole year or 2 years or 3 years. Nobody talks about that, but that's what business is. That when you're in the grind, like that's what it is. And I think people have to realize that when you're going to start a business or you're working with your spouse, it's a lot of sacrifice. You can't compare yourself to your friends who don't own a business or not running a business.
That's hard.
And it's hard. Yeah. Like they're going on vacations and you're not. That's just the reality of it. I mean, that's just the reality of it. They're doing this and this, and you're not. That's the reality of it.
I think what gets us through it is that we are each other's best friend. Yeah. So at the end of the day, like if we've got to suffer, quote unquote, we're doing it together.
Yeah.
So I think that, like I said, nobody understands that suffering better than the two of us going through it together.
Yeah. And it's seasonal, right? There's the Bible talks about there's a time for sowing, there's a time for reaping, right? When you're starting a business, it's sowing. You're going to be sowing for a long time.
Yeah.
And when you scale it well, you do a good job, you will be able to reap, right?
And these are truly the things that we talk about, like on a daily basis, that get us through those hard moments
Yeah,
too.
like today.
The days when you go, yeah, like it's Black Friday, but what are we doing? You know what?
Yeah.
It's just another day.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but it's about attitude too. I mean, there's hard moments too. And I think if you've got a poor attitude, if you're like, I'm not going to have a good day, well,
Right.
you're not going to have a good day then.
Right.
If you wake up thinking that.
Right.
So,
Right.
I think our faith carries us through a lot of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the biggest thing, like us trusting in the Lord. And like, I can't, on those nights where she's tired and she goes to bed, or I'm tired and I go to bed, like our faith and our solace has to come from God. Like he's the one that satisfies our heart and our soul.
For sure.
Because like, your spouse is human, like you have to have something that can always be there with you, can get you through everything. And that's for us, that's the Lord, it's our faith in Christ, and he helps us get through it, so that's good. Well, right now we're about to go and see a good friend of ours, which is a patient. So I'm gonna go see her real quick, and then we'll probably hop back on and do another one. Bye. Charlin Health Services. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to like and subscribe. We hope this was a blessing to you, your family, your loved ones, all your friends. Share it. And if you want to watch more videos, here they are. Enjoy, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.